Good day, and welcome back to Celebrity Watchgist, the only channel that serves the tea so hot you need oven mitts just to press play. Today, we're diving deep into a story that has Hollywood, royal watchers, and basically anyone with a functioning Wi-Fi connection completely losing their minds. Because when we talk about Meghan Markle, it is never just a story, it is an entire cinematic universe. And today's episode? Oh, it has betrayal, silence, shade thrown from a distance, and one former best friend who has apparently decided he is done. We are talking about Patrick J. Adams, Mike Ross himself, and what sources are now calling a permanent, no-return, do-not-resuscitate friendship collapse between him and the Duchess of Sussex. Buckle up. Quick favor before we get into it. If you are loving this content, hit that subscribe button right now. Over 92% of viewers haven't done it yet. It is completely free, takes literally 1 second, and it means the absolute world to us here at Celebrity Watchgist. And don't forget to smash that notification bell so you never miss a single drop of the good stuff. Thanks if you did it. You are a legend. Now back to the show. So, let us set the scene. Patrick J. Adams and Meghan Markle were not just co-stars on the hit USA legal drama Suits. These two were genuinely close, like defend you publicly on Twitter close, like write a wedding toast close, like show up for you when the whole world is watching close. Patrick was one of the loudest voices in Meghan's corner when the British tabloids started sharpening their knives. He called out the media. He backed her publicly. He was, by every definition, a ride or die. And now, crickets. Complete radio silence. And apparently something much worse than silence. A deliberate, conscious decision to cut ties entirely. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this is not the kind of falling out where two people just drift apart and stop texting. You know the type. You just stop making plans until one day you realize you haven't spoken in 2 years and somehow nobody's upset about it. No, this is something different. Sources close to the situation, and yes, Hollywood always has sources, they multiply like rabbits, are saying that Patrick's distancing has been intentional, pointed, and very, very final. And what triggered it? Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Actually, let us talk about the entire elephant parade, because there is more than one. First, there is the matter of the Netflix documentary. When Meghan and Harry dropped their 6-part Netflix series, it was essentially a guided tour through the royal family's alleged sins, narrated by two people who clearly had a lot to say. Now, many of Meghan's former friends and colleagues watched that documentary and reportedly had their jaws on the floor, not because of what was said about the royals, but because of the version of events being presented, the narrative, the framing, the scale of it all. Several people who had been close to Meghan before the palace years reportedly felt the person on that screen was barely recognizable to them. Patrick, who had been publicly supportive and genuinely warm toward Meghan for years, started going noticeably quiet around this time. No more public defenses, no more tweets, no more glowing tributes. Just nothing. And in celebrity world, nothing says everything. Then came the book, then came the interviews, then came the rebranding, the Spotify drama, the Polo docuseries, the lifestyle brand, the Instagram return. It has been a lot. And every time a new project dropped, you noticed who was commenting and who was not, who was showing up and who had quietly exited the building. Patrick was in the second group. But let us not pretend this is entirely one-sided, because nuance is important, people. Patrick has his own life, his own career, his own family. He's not obligated to be Meghan's public defender indefinitely. Nobody signs up for that role forever. And frankly, there is something to be said for the fact that maybe he just got tired. Tired of being collateral, tired of being name-dropped or associated with controversy that had nothing to do with him. Tired of being a supporting character in someone else's never-ending drama series. Because here's the thing about being friends with someone who is perpetually in the eye of the storm. Eventually, the wind starts affecting you, too. And at some point, self-preservation kicks in. Now, reports are suggesting that the final straw, if we are going to call it that, was a combination of things that built up over time, like a pressure cooker with a broken lid. People close to Patrick say he felt increasingly like their friendship was becoming transactional, that moments of connection were being leveraged rather than cherished, that their shared history was becoming content rather than memory. And when someone who genuinely cared about you starts to feel like a prop in your personal branding strategy, that is when the door closes. And close it did, quietly, firmly, and from what sources are indicating, permanently. Now, how does Meghan factor into all of this emotionally? Because let us be real, Meghan Markle is a woman who has spoken extensively about loss. Loss of family, loss of friendships, loss of the life she thought she was stepping into when she married into the royal family. She has described isolation. She has described grief over relationships that ended without warning or explanation. And ironically, she is now reportedly on the receiving end of exactly that kind of silence from someone who was once one of her most vocal allies. There is something almost Shakespearean about that, or at minimum, very Suits season finale energy. Sources say Meghan has been deeply affected by the estrangement, that this particular falling out hits differently than the royal family drama because Patrick was a friend from before, from the life she built herself, the career she worked for, the world she belonged to on her own terms before any of the crowns and controversies. Losing that connection is not just losing a friend. It is losing a piece of who she was before all of this. And look, we are not here to crucify anyone, not Patrick, not Meghan, because friendships are complicated. Famous friendships are even more complicated, and famous friendships that get caught in the crossfire of one of the most scrutinized marriages in modern history, those are practically impossible. But what we can say is this: the pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. The inner circle keeps shrinking. The list of former confidants who have gone quiet keeps growing. And at some point, you have to ask the question that nobody on Meghan's team apparently wants to ask out loud. What is the common thread here? Is it the media? The pressure? The scrutiny? Possibly. Probably even. But it is also worth noting that plenty of people under enormous public pressure manage to hold on to their closest friendships, because real friendships, the kind built on genuine mutual respect, tend to survive storms. It is the ones built on convenience, proximity, or shared ambition that tend to crack under pressure. What Patrick and Meghan had looked like the real thing for a long time, and maybe it was. But real things can still end, and from everything being reported right now, this one has. Patrick J. Adams has moved on. He's focused on his family, his work, his life in the United States away from the noise. He is not issuing statements, he is not throwing shade in interviews. He is doing something far more powerful. He is simply not there anymore. And in a world where everyone has an opinion about Meghan Markle, choosing silence is actually its own very loud statement. As for what happens next, that's anyone's guess. Reconciliations happen, people change, circumstances shift. But right now, in this moment, the friendship between one of Hollywood's most beloved TV duos appears to be over. Not with a bang, not with a dramatic Twitter thread or a tell-all exclusive, just with a quiet, dignified, and apparently very final exit. And somehow, that's the most dramatic ending of all. Thank you so much for watching Celebrity Watchgist, family. It genuinely means everything. We'll see you in the next one.